is Sean. I'm back with another episode of All Things Black. Today I have a new friend here.
Portia. Hi,
Uh,
everybody.
Okay, today me and Portia are going to talk about colorism today in the Black community. We're just going to have a conversation. So, our first question today is, what does the word colorism mean to you?
So when I hear the word colorism, to me, it means discrimination of your skin tone or skin color within the Black community. However, it can be outside of the Black community as well. But to me, because it hits home worse when it's with your own people. So I'll say within the Black community.
Okay. What do you believe are some examples of colorism? And these can be general ones because we'll talk about the personal ones later.
Some examples of colorism. It's portrayed a lot in the media, television commercials. There's a lot of subliminal messages that they send through the media. I can't think of any example right now per se off the top of my head. There's a ton of them.
So some examples that I think of, I would say like in television shows, um, if there's a family, it's always a dark skinned husband and a light skinned wife. And if there's children, it'll be maybe a dark skinned son, but it has to be a light skinned daughter. Yep. Or in television shows again, the dark skinned girl is always portrayed as not being able to find a man. She's loud, she's obnoxious, she sleeps around. In media, when you watch like news shows, most of the newscasters are lighter skinned Black women, or lighter skinned Black men. Rarely do you see dark skinned people represented in those spaces. Beauty ads are mostly either non-Black women, or if it is a Black woman, it's a light skinned Black woman. So yeah.
Yeah. So let me it might help to say this too. So I'm an introvert. I have been for quite some time now, for some years now. And I don't watch TV that often.
Okay.
Rarely. And when I do, it's stuff that I can choose, like from Netflix, or like when I go to my house, I watch TV maybe like once or twice a month, but I rarely do. But it's stuff that we actually like select to see. So I'm not really, I can't really, I'm not up with like what's
Yeah.
going on. So my interpretation of what's going on now is like social media, I would say. Like
Yeah.
but I haven't really watched TV since I'd say let me see, my baby is 18, for about 18 years.
Okay.
I do know, like I do, from social media and stuff like that, but like the shows and stuff, I haven't watched TV shows in a very long time. So I don't know what like the latest shows and stuff are, girl.
Yeah.
I'm so behind everything, but yeah, that is true. Like that's something to think about. That is very true. I have noticed that as well. It's usually a darker father and the lighter woman, and or a darker or a brown woman is loud or she's obnoxious, or even things like this. I don't know if I could put it well, it's not anything bad, but there was a cartoon and it was called The Proud Family.
Yes.
And I noticed the intro in the song when the little, because Penny Proud, she's a brown girl. She's not dark, but she's a brown girl. She's not light skinned. Um, the intro goes, I'm Penny Proud, I'm cute and loud.
Yeah.
And got it going on. But they made it a point to put in there, I'm loud.
The funny thing about that though is that in the Proud family, it's actually I think Dejanay.
Dejanay, yeah.
Very colorist towards Dejanay. I mean, Penny Proud was supposed to be. I mean, although she really isn't that light, Penny Proud in comparison to Dejanay is light skinned. So Penny Proud was, painted in a positive light, basically. And Dejanay was, loud, obnoxious, etc. The Gross sisters, which were, I feel like they did a whole, they were so black, they were blue type of thing. And what were they? They were bullies. They were loud. They were obnoxious. And again, in that show, even in a cartoon, it's the dark skinned husband, light skinned wife.
Right. But it was that one little phrase that was stood
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
A black person, because it's a black person.
Loud.
I'm loud, I'm feeling loud. I'm loud.
Yeah, yeah. It has to say, and that's something that's stereotyped about black women a lot. So, yeah. Okay. Our next question is, why do you believe people have negative attitudes about dark skinned people or light skinned people?
So, you said negative attitudes or negative views?
Yeah, either or.
So a lot of stuff, like when we experience negative attitude or if we have a negative view to something, those are learned behaviors. It's something that is learned because that's what's been promoted, that's what's infiltrated, that's what has been people get brainwashed early on, from a child. As a child, they're brainwashed. TV commercials, like you were talking about, TV, magazines, ads. Soon as a black child comes out of the womb, basically they're being programmed, socially conditioned to believe that white is right,
Yeah.
black get back, white is right.
Yep.
So, or light
Yeah.
is right. And it's even it's on a subconscious level, but things that affect you subconsciously, affect you deeply. Things that affect you subconsciously affect you deeply.
Right.
It's a deep rooted thing. I'm almost starting to think it's like in the DNA now. It's so crazy. Like, what do they call that one test that they do with the kids in school?
Yes.
Doll test.
Yeah. Is that
Girl is the nice girl.
the doll test? Yeah.
Girl, when I first seen that, I cried.
Yeah.
It was so hurtful. And like, they even did it to white kids in communities that were never even around any black children at all. So just like they got it from somewhere. Those are learned behaviors. It came from somewhere. Black is not good. Black is always associated with evil or, you know, uh even Halloween, girl. Soon as
Yeah.
Halloween, you know,
Yeah.
associated with evil.
Yeah.
You know, it's evil, it's morbid, it's associated with like darkness and mysticism, and it's
Yeah.
all bad.
It really
Always.
is. And that's not even in people. You have like black cats that are bad. You have black dogs that are least likely to be adopted. You have like with shoes, black Air Force Ones, people think look dirty, but they like white Air Force Ones. And it's like with even inanimate objects,
Yes,
well,
that
not
is so
inanimate objects, with objects that are not people.
like tangible, like just look,
Yeah,
yeah.
right, tangible. People still associate black with bad. So, yeah, I agree. Okay. So, so our next question is, what role do you believe colorism plays in dating and marriage?
Mhm. That's something I hadn't thought about.
So I can answer. For me, I think that so in studies that I found, lighter skinned women are more likely to be married than darker skinned women. In dating, a lot of men seek out lighter skinned women because they want to have pretty babies. That's what a lot of them say. Um, I've spoken to women who, or a woman specifically, who a man told her um, they would have ugly babies, and she's a very beautiful woman, a beautiful brown skinned woman, but he is a dark skinned man, and he told her they would make ugly babies. Or I talked to another
because he felt bad about himself. That was his own
Right.
issue.
Or another dark skinned girl I talked to, someone told her she needed to make sure she had a baby with a lighter skinned man. So, or just people in general, darker skinned people who seek out lighter skinned people because they believe that that will make them have a pretty baby or a lighter baby, and that's how they choose to mate. With high status people, they're more likely to marry lighter skinned black women. I don't know if that's associated with a status symbol or what. Once you get to a certain level, you don't have to deal with dark skinned black women anymore. So, it could be that. But overall, and then with dark skinned black men, they're actually preferred in dating rather than light skinned black men, because light skinned black men are stereotyped as feminine. So, with dating and marriage, I feel like colorism plays a part in that light skinned women are preferred and dark skinned black men are preferred in dating and marriage.
The city that I live in, Sacramento, California, this is like the mixed capital, biracial capital. There are so many ugly mixed people here, you would not believe. So if they banking on skin color making your
Yeah.
baby beautiful, baby, it ain't that.
Yeah,
It,
it's not.
it ain't the color, honey. That ain't gonna do it. But it's just, you know, it's a big misconception, It's a big misconception, but yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, it is a big misconception. People date, based on that. So, okay.
And personally, I don't even I'm a eclectic person. Like I don't even really have a preference like far as skin color, like
Yeah,
the tone.
right.
Like I like dark skinned black men, light skinned black men, brown skinned men. I've dated outside of my race, but I prefer ethnic, what they call ethnic
Right.
men, groups. But like I don't care if they're like a light Latino or dark Latino or quote nappy hair, good hair. I like, well, I should say I like thick hair. I do like thicker hair, but it's not a big deal to me. Like I don't care if his hair is straight, thick, nappy, curly, kunta, all the way to whatever. I do not care. Like I don't even. That's that's going far. That's
Yeah.
really far. But I hear it. I hear it too, and it's just like, wow, that's so ignorant. So you're basing your who you mate with, on what your child is going to look like. I would think you would want to base your mating on the way this person thinks, their mindset. Do you want an ignorant child? This man has a lot of intellect. What kind of background does he come from? How did his family think and act?
Right.
Not the like you really don't have you don't want much for your child if you just want a man because or a woman because they'll make a light or quote beautiful.
Maybe.
Mhm.
So our next question is, what do you believe is the difference between colorism and preference? Because a lot of times when you talk to people about colorism, they'll say, "Well, that's just my preference."
So
Is there a difference?
basically what I was just saying was kind of I touched on that a little bit. Colorism are people who suffer from colorism. I'm gonna say suffer because it's an illness.
Yeah.
People that suffer from colorism, they exclusively
Mm.
exclusivity is the difference.
Okay.
They exclusively choose or pick someone who is lighter. A preference is, oh, damn. They prefer that exclusively. Exclusivity, I guess. I don't know. Cause like,
It's a thin
why
line.
pardon?
It's a thin line.
Yeah, it's a thin line because that is strange because preference is you do prefer it, but
You got to think
uh
about why you prefer it.
so yeah, so here's the
Yeah.
thing. But with preference means you prefer it, but you're not, it's not, you're not hell's bent on it.
Right.
if you prefer it, that means, well, this is my taste. This is the look I'm attracted to. This is what I prefer. However, I like this brown girl over here. I like dark-skinned women too, so, but exclusivity is the difference, I would say. I prefer light skin, but I date brown, black, this, that, I date it all.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what would be the difference.
I agree, but I think it's a really, really thin, thin, thin line. Because you could go with that, but then you could say, wait a minute, why do I prefer light skin? And your answer might reveal, colorism rather than preference. So, yeah, I definitely agree with this about being, what you're exclusive to. But it's all about that reasoning. Sometimes when you hear the reason behind it, it's like it tells a whole different story. Yeah.
Right. I can see if they say, well, that's what I'm attracted to. That's just what I'm physically attracted to. But it's always other reasons. Well, I can't say always. Some people might really just be physically attracted to that. But a lot of times they'll say, oh, because this or because that. And it's really like superficial reasons.
It is. And then when you think about that, I even, because I've been wrestling with that. If they say, that's just what I'm physically attracted to, I have to think, you have to think about, again, why? Why is it that beauty is what is always physically attracted to you? You have to think about what you're watching. You have to think about what you've been hearing growing up. You have to think about generational trauma that's been passed down. Because I guess it can be innocent to only prefer. To prefer lighter women, but you have to do the work and ask yourself why. Yeah.
Okay, so we have to consider this now, okay?
Okay.
Lots of people are attracted to the opposite. Opposites do attract, okay? However, when you start having, and we're gonna say men, okay? I'm gonna say men right now because we're female right now, so I'm just gonna say men.
Yeah.
When you start having, and I know it's no way in hell every light-skinned man. A lot of light-skinned men are attracted to darker women. Point blank. Period. A lot of light-skinned women are attracted to darker skinned men, right? It's just natural to be attracted to something that's opposite of you at some point or another. But when you start having light-skinned men so-called only attracted to light-skinned women, it ain't no way you can tell me that your ass has not been attracted to a dark woman. That's a lie. You are. Well, I'm not speaking for everybody, but there are lots of lighter skinned men who are attracted to dark women, but they're not going to ever reveal that. Especially like ball players and people, a certain status and certain positions will never reveal that. You'll be on the forefront with a lighter skinned woman. And I noticed like within this generation, I'm noticing that's real popular right now. Like I noticed like how you said light skinned women, they choose, a darker skinned man, and a darker man wants a lighter woman. But what I do know, especially growing up as a dark skinned girl, light skinned men are attracted to dark women. It's a known fact. But now you see like they're dating like outside of their race. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but when you exclusively doing it, it's something that you've been conditioned. It's obvious. Like it's something that it came from somewhere. You know what I mean? It's like a fad. When you're a light-skinned Black man, but you only date Asian women, or you only date Latina women, you only date white girls.
Yeah.
It's something you have been conditioned in your mind somewhere that is a better thing to do, and you've been taught. It's even been taught in the home, but a lot of people keep it on hush. But I was gonna say, you'll see like them have these lighter women or non-Black. When I say light, I mean it could be anything, just like not brown or dark. But in secret, they'll have or try to talk to dark women. They do that. They will do that. Oh, some of my answers I'm gonna say for some of the next questions you ask me. I'm gonna let that sit right there. We're
Just
gonna leave that right.
let marinate, and we'll come back to it. Okay. So our next question is, how do you believe gender intersects with colorism?
How does gender intersect with colorism? Like how you were saying before, with the dark men, the dark skinned male having the light skinned woman as the preference,
Yeah.
and the light woman, has the dark man as the preference because they look at light skinned men as weak or feminine, gay, or
Yeah.
and then the dark female, he's the dominant, more masculine,
He is,
and
according to that.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, well,
Right. Right. Cool. Yeah. And so it's funny that but I guess with the dark skinned woman, she's facing three things. She's dark skinned, she's a woman, and she's black. So colorism affects her the most, and so it does affect dark skinned black men, but it does not affect them how it affects dark skinned black women. No.
okay, so I want to ask you something about you keep up with like the statistics, for like black, dark skin, whatever. I don't know if you've heard this statistic or not, but I've heard this. I never researched it for myself, but Black women and Asian men are the least desired.
Yeah. It was like a Yeah, it was a study. I think it was from they used Tinder or some dating app, and it found that dark skinned black women and I believe Asian men were the least desired. And I also feel like I read something that said the two of them were also the least likely to be married as well. But I'm not sure. Let me check on that.
Before that ever existed, I heard that from somewhere before too. So it just like I was just crazy to me. Ironically, it's a in my building that I live in, it's a Black woman and an Asian man that are married.
It says Asian men and black women. Um, Asian men and black women are the least desired, but I don't believe it's black women. Oh, and also at least likely to marry is also Asians and African American women. Um, but you can say they mean black. This statistic says black women, but I don't know if it's black women or certain types of black women. So we can leave that there.
Okay.
Okay. Our next one is okay. Do you believe that colorism is institutionalized? Like, does it affect the criminal justice? Yeah. Do you believe colorism is institutionalized? Like, does it affect socioeconomic status, the criminal justice system, job selection, promotions, just any like institution?
To a certain degree. To a certain degree, I do believe that.
Yeah.
So, depending upon the type of job that a Black woman is trying to uh, get hired, yeah. So, me, I am aspiring to be a flight attendant, and I am a dark skinned Black woman. I've been trying to be a flight attendant since the year 2010. This is 2019. It's already a highly competitive industry. However, the more international airlines are more accepting of Black women, I'd stand a better chance with them. Even though it's highly competitive, they're a little more accepting of Black women. However, the airlines that I'm applying for is domestic, and it's one of the it's one of the big carriers that we all know and love. And and I've interviewed with them and everything. Now, mind you, I know the aviation industry like the back of my hand. Okay. I've worked at the airport for 2 years. I've learned airport operations, and, I've worked on planes, and I've gotten to see and know the ins and out of aviation. I even have very close friends that are flight attendant. One is a very, very, a blue vein Black girl. So, and we have even talked about colorism. She's my friend, and this is, we, it's something that exists, and we both talk about colorism and the things that we see, in the aviation industry for this particular airlines, and she works for them too. I had an interview, and I was flown out to Dallas for the interview. Mind you, the interview went well. They didn't throw any curveballs at me. Like I said, I know the industry, the ins and outs of it. And I didn't get the job though. When I went in, I had my short, natural hair. Okay.
Yeah.
I did not have a weave. I did not have my hair straight. In fact, and this is in Dallas. When I walked in the office, the receptionist, the white lady, says, "Oh my gosh, I love your hair." Like, so that told me, oh, they must not be used to seeing natural
Yeah.
hair. Yeah. So she made reference to she was like, is that I want to say, if she asked me, was it a Jheri curl?
The white girl asked you that?
Yeah, it was an older white lady. This
So there's no way you won't believe. There's no way. Okay.
So she was like, your hair is so gorgeous. She was like, oh my God. She was like, is that she was trying to ask me, like, was it my natural curl pattern, or like my texture, or was it a Jheri curl? She was like, I love your hair. You look absolutely gorgeous, right? So that told me, oh, they ain't used to seeing natural hair. Probably at a flight attendant interview, they didn't. But I had my little TWA, it was like about this short, and, it was moisturized, looking. So during the interview,
Okay.
one of the interviewers says to me, I see you've done your homework. You're really very well versed, in this industry. So she knew that
Yeah, it's an interview.
right, right. So I did not get that job. Now my friend, the blue vein, well, I'm saying blue vein, blue vein, but she's a very, very fair skinned Black woman,
Yeah.
to where she's like what you would call in the white. Her skin is like a white.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. She had her interview in Oakland, California, which is it's a very Black populated city, and all her interviewers were male, and she got the job. And she said, so the interview in Dallas is like the headquarters.
Okay,
So
went
they're a
down.
little bit tougher. The interview in Dallas, they're a little bit tougher. It's the headquarters, so the questions are going to be tougher. The interview, you might interview with more people, it'll be longer. So when she went to her interview, she said that it was all male, and she said they didn't really ask me like much of anything. They basically just threw the job to me. She said they basically just gave it to her. I was like, well, what did you say when they asked you this? Because, there's these certain questions they ask, like these protocol flight attendant questions. And she was like, oh, girl, I don't even remember. What did I say? Like, she basically let me know it was like really improper. You know what I mean? It wasn't real, like, formal. She was like, it was like they knew, they just basically just threw me the job. They were talking about giving me the drug test and like filling out my hire packet and stuff. Right. Yes. So anyway, so what happens, because she was like, I can't see why they didn't hire you. She was like, they should have hired you. You knew way more than me. She was like, I didn't know shit about aviation and they hired me. And, because we're talking about that she's saying it's a colorism issue. She's saying it's likely a colorism issue. And it was something that she brought up. Dang, my mind just slipped. She was like, I wish you would have had your interview in Oakland with the men. She was like, because you would have got it. Because Oakland is like a Black, it's known for to be like a chocolate city.
But
Oakland,
I don't know if
California.
that would have made much of a difference, because sometimes we are, as Black people, are worse with
Worse.
displays of colorism than
Yes, but
So
I think she's referencing too because it was male interviewers and I had female interviewers, and I had that natural hair. She was like, "Girl, it was probably your hair. It was probably your natural hair." So I don't know. We still can't, I can't say for sure, but I'm willing to bet you $1,000,000 to a bucket of fish that it's because I'm a dark-skinned Black woman.
and you wore your fro.
And I wore my natural. It wasn't forked out like I was going to the Black Panther party. You know what I mean? I didn't want to threaten them because they would have. Ooh, girl, I wouldn't have made it through the door with that. But it was just like a TWA.
Yeah, yeah. I've kind of had a similar experience. Like I went to an interview for, um, so my degree is in criminal justice, and I work with social work. So at DSS. So I was going to excuse me. I've been working there for about a year and about a year and 3 months. So um, I went to an interview for like a part-time job. It was at a mental health hospital dealing with people who had like mental health issues, basically. So I feel like my experience and my degree, matched the requirements of the position. So when I went in there, and I did go to so in where I live, Columbia, South Carolina. Um, our university here, University of South Carolina, is the flagship university. It's got a really good reputation, in this area. So that's the school I went to. So I did think I had a good chance to get the interview. Um, but when I sat down with the lady, so the first guy I talked to, he was a guy. He went to USC too. I could tell by the shirt he had on. So he was really nice. But then when I went to sit down with the interviewer, she was an older white lady, and I did have like a puff. Um, she didn't ask me any questions. She had a very nasty demeanor on her face, and she did not ask me absolutely any questions. She basically just said like, "Oh, so okay, what hours could you work?" And asked me one more question, and that was the end of the interview. This was the shortest interview I have ever had in my life, and to me, it was because she did not like my appearance, and because how does the interview go like that? That's not how an interview works. You ask questions. She didn't ask me any questions. I'm talking
Yeah.
about no interview questions, and that's not
No,
the
she followed no protocol.
No, she followed no interview protocol. She just asked me basically one question, and that was it, nothing else. I went to another interview one time for a part-time job, and when I went in, it was at a restaurant, and I went in, and I saw the lady like kind of rushing out. And then so when I sat down, that this was something that was scheduled. So when I sat down, a girl came out to me, and this again, I had my puff. A girl came out to me, and she was like, "Oh, well, she had to rush off. Let me go get the other manager." So then she comes back out, and she's like, "Oh, they said that they will call you. The other manager had to leave." So I never get an email back from the manager who set up a interview with me and then had to leave. And then even though I sent her an email like, are we able to set up another time? Then I never heard from them again. So in my opinion, depending on how you come into a place, especially if it's with your natural hair, um, I don't think you'll get the job. That's just my personal opinion, especially as a darker skinned Black woman. You cannot wear your natural hair. You cannot wear kinky hair. You cannot wear puffy hair and expect to get a job. You can be maybe a lighter skinned woman with maybe a looser texture hair. Not that they all do, but if you are a lighter skinned woman with looser texture natural hair, or a mixed woman, it's okay for you to wear your hair frizzy or natural, but it's not okay for dark skinned Black women to wear their hair natural to interviews or places like that and expect to get a job.
And not to any extent. Even Black women even dark women with the looser
Yeah,
curl pattern, because
it's
my
not.
curl pattern is looser too, and you still can't wear it natural. Like that lady asked me, "Is that a Jheri curl?" Like it had to be a Jheri curl because I'm dark. But let that
Exactly.
have been a lady.
She would
Oh,
never
you're
answer that.
right. She wouldn't have questioned if that was a Jheri curl. Nah, baby, that's your real texture right there. That ain't no Jheri curl.
Right.
They would have never questioned it. That was another. Oh, I forgot about that. That was something growing up that I got asked a lot because I'm dark skinned. Did I have a Jheri curl? Oh, or what y'all mixed with? Do you have a Jheri curl? Because I'm dark skinned and have a looser curl pattern.
Yeah.
But let me be light skinned. They will never question that curl pattern. Never.
Mm-mm.
They ain't gonna be asking you got a wave nouveau or a Jheri curl. That's you, baby, all the way.
Yeah.
Oh, this is what I wanted to say too. Us being dark skinned Black women or dark skinned Black people across the board, men and women, we are deemed as unintelligent,
Yeah.
the less intelligent. And, the lighter you are, and it could be someone who is the most ignorant, unintelligent, light skinned person, but they will choose them over you because you are dark and you are deemed as unintelligent. It's a surprise to people, even Black people, when
Yeah.
you're a dark person and you're intelligent, or we have to dummy ourselves down, just to be around certain people because it's a threat when you're dark or if you're Black and intelligent, especially amongst, I'm just gonna say, white people. It's a threat when you are a Black person, not only Black, but a dark-skinned Black person, and
Yeah.
you embody intelligence, and when we're supposed to be deemed as being unintelligent.
Yeah. I think it's a big colorist microaggression to that I know a lot of dark skinned Black people have probably heard when they've been called, because I know I specifically have well spoken by white people. I have been called well spoken so many times. Like, uh, okay, would you, if you were to see a lighter Black woman or a white person, would you comment on their English skills? I mean, I was born here in America and have been taught English since I was, a child. I mean, it's telling me I'm well spoken is not a compliment. Okay.
It's basically a backhanded, what do they call that? A backhanded compliment, like
Yeah,
they're
a back
trying to.
compliment.
Yes, and I've heard that too, girl. In North Rocky Mount, North Carolina, girl, a white woman told me, she was like, "Oh, you're so articulate." No, what did she say? You're so proper. And I looked at her and I was like, I've heard that from white people a lot too.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, oh, because I'm Black, I'm proper. And I'm like, really? Because like I got that a lot from white people in the South. Yes, I've gotten that too.
Okay.
Wow.
So we just have a few more questions. What are some of your personal experiences with colorism?
Yeah. Um, I'm gonna bring this is one I've never repeated to anyone, so I'm gonna bring this one up first.
Okay.
So, my oldest son, that's 23 now, he was about, I would say about 9 years old, maybe about 9 or 10 years old. And he had this little friend, a little Black boy, and his friend comes over, with my son. His friend comes to our house and he sees me and he says, "Oh, your mom is pretty." And he was like, "Yeah, your mom would be bad if she would be even badder if she was light skinned." Now, mind you, this is a kid saying this, so kids are innocent. He wasn't being malicious. He wasn't even being malicious when he said it, girl, baby. He meant that, okay? Because kids they speak their truth. That was his truth. He was like, "Oh," he was like, "Yeah, your mama hella pretty." He said she would be even better if she was light skinned. Because what he said, skinned it too, skinned it, not skinned it. He
What did
said,
you say?
because what he was expecting. So my son, because I never talk about that kind of stuff to my kids in the household. I got one light skinned child and one dark skinned child. So like how I told you how when I was growing up, I never heard that in my household. My kids don't, we didn't talk about that, like light skin, dark skin. It was never no issue in my house. So anyway, I look at him, right, and I'm like, oh, so he growing up with that same colorist stuff. So the little boy was clearly attracted to me, I mean, he thought was an attractive woman, but he said if I was lighter skinned, that I would be even better. Girl, yes, he did, and it stuck with me for years. It's
Yeah, yeah.
He didn't mean any harm, you know.
Yeah, he wouldn't have meant no harm, all right.
But oh, this is what I was gonna say.
Harm.
When he was expecting before he seen me, because that was from my son who's very fair complected. He was expecting when he got to that house that when he seen me, he thought I was gonna be a light-skinned woman. That's what he probably thought. Or he probably thought I was gonna be like Latina or another race. Because mind you, remember I told you my oldest son is biracial. So my other experience was for the audience, when I was about 31 years old. I'm almost 46 now, but at the time, this was my very first time experiencing colorism. This was my very first time experiencing colorism that I can remember, like, in my adult years. I was working at this shop and there was a dark-skinned gentleman. I was having a conversation with him, and I guess he was trying to like pursue me, and legitimately wanted to know like what he was talking about. I had never heard that. And he never did answer that, but he did say this. He said that something to the effect of, because I was dark skinned, that I don't have a lot of choices and I need to take what I could get. I was flabbergasted. I had never heard nothing like that in my life, because that was never my experience. But in his mind, when he said that, the first thing that came to my mind was that was his experience in life. Like, he didn't feel good about who he was, and that he would only be able to take what he could get. So he was reflecting back to himself, like he was trying to put it on me. I just couldn't believe it. And I was like, dang, he really thinks that of himself. But in my mind, I was thinking, well, it's not that you need to take what you could get. You need to change your attitude. I'm thinking, like, looking at him, he could have better options if he changed his persona or changed his disposition, changed his image. But what his issue was, he in turn, tried to give it to me. And I think that's what a lot of Black men's issues are. A lot of Black men who exclusively want to date light skin or exclusively want to date other than Black. It's their own issue. It's something that they have in themselves that they don't like. Now, it's okay to like outside of your race or light skin or this and that, but when it's your preference or what were you saying early?
Yeah,
When it when when you exclusively want to date this, it's because there's something wrong. Because being exclusive is narrowing, you're putting yourself in a box. Basically, like, when you limit to your possibilities, you know being exclusive is not just like, when it comes to certain things like that, that's like saying, I exclusively want to learn about climate changes. That's all you want to learn about. So you limit yourself. So when you do that, it's like, it's a deep rooted issue. Nobody just wants to know about climate changes. You know what I mean? Like, we want to have a broader perspective of things. We want to learn about, you want to learn about demographics. Maybe you want to learn about water. Maybe you want to learn about the clouds. Maybe you want to learn about horticulture. Like, just to say, oh, I exclusively or I only want light skin. There's something within yourself that, like, you don't like.
Yeah. Okay. So these are our last two questions. You're so beautiful.
Thank you. You are too. You're
Thank
a
you.
pretty girl.
Okay. Last two questions are: who is responsible for breaking the cycle of colorism?
So I would say us as Blacks are responsible for demolishing colorism. Will it ever end? Not in any lifetime that I'll ever see. Honestly, I don't think it will. Like Willie Lynch said on that hill when he was reading that letter to the people, he said this method should be effective for at least 400 years. We have exceeded that. It's been beyond 400 years. And this is something I want to mention as well. Not only has it been effective for only over 400 years, but I want to say this century, this time that we're living in, we're at the height of colorism. It's worse now than it has ever been in history, to my, you know, in my opinion. In my opinion, it is the worst that it has ever been. Ever. Ever. I had watched some like Lena Horne documentaries, and I love like classic and vintage things and stuff. And she was talking about a lot of colorism and stuff, things that were going on in her time, and talking about, speaking of her struggles, growing up and making it and stuff. And that was pretty interesting too. She had pointed out a lot of different things. But and I was reflecting back on that, and I was like, damn, I was like, only if, she was in this time now, and to see how it is now, I see it as way worse. Way worse.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed talking with you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So I have a quick question.
Okay, this is Sean and this is Portia. Thank you for watching All Things Black.
Thank you.